All right, so we're beginning tonight the fifth part of chapter Kuf Yutet 119. It's a long chapter, but I believe it really encompasses many areas of life. David HaMelech as a king had many responsibilities. Nonetheless, he will emphasize for us, especially in tonight's section, the importance of Torah in a Jew's life. A lot of people think that Torah is just a bunch of fairy tales. They don't realize how serious it is, how important it is for a Jew, how this is a roadmap for us. Our life depends on this. And even though there are quite a few people that don't have that much time to learn Torah, they can always support Torah. They can always respect the Torah and learn as much as they can just to get by. Even those that learn a little bit have what to gain from it. Even the women who have no obligation to learn Torah per se can gain a lot from it. Hopefully they will marry someone who will be immersed in Torah and they will admire him for that. Hopefully. We're living in a generation where the Torah is being trampled. Unfortunately, that is one of the signs that Mashiach is coming. The generation before Mashiach will be very disrespectful to Torah, to the elders. Children will not look up to their dads. It's really, really a sad time to be living in. It is exciting because we're looking forward to Mashiach any day now. So many of the things that are happening around us definitely are strong indicators that Mashiach is coming. Something is about to happen in the world. I'm going to give B'ezrat Hashem a special lecture about that soon, hopefully. But you will notice that David HaMelech spends a lot of time and effort describing the importance of Torah, not only to himself, but to all of us. And that is to make sure that we don't have the wrong ideas of what the Torah is. This is a king talking about the importance of Torah to himself, the more so to us. So we're holding the letters Mem, Nun, and Samach, if you want to follow. Ma hafti Toratecha, this is verse Tzadik Zayin 97. Ma hafti Toratecha kol hayom hisichati. How I love your Torah. All day it's my discussion. This is a beautiful pasuk. Why is it so beautiful? Not only because he says how much he loves the Torah, but he says, I speak about it an entire day. That is my conversation. You know who says this? I talk about it a whole day, I think about it a whole day. One who's in love. People who are in love with someone, especially in the early stages, eventually that love becomes something of an accepted thing, not something that you're so much into it, that you're thinking about it every day, dreaming about it. But David HaMelech describes it in such terms of endearment, because this is exactly how he felt towards the Torah. And this can only come from someone who really appreciates this, who really knows the true value of the Torah. So we're not talking about passion. When we talk about love, there's something called passion, physical attraction. That is not real. It's not substantial. True love comes with time. When you appreciate each other, when you give to each other, when you cooperate, respect, and do for each other. It's so beautiful. Love can be very, very powerful. It's a strong bond between people. It could be a very powerful bond between us and Hashem. Even though we don't see Him, we see His work. We see His handiwork. We see His kindness. And this leads, hopefully, to motivate us to reciprocate, to love Him too. So the Torah is part of Hashem. It is something that Hashem gave us out of His love for us. And David HaMelech expresses what every Jew should be expressing, a true love and dedication to its precepts, to the mitzvot in the Torah. Learning the Torah with yegi'ah, with hard work, with effort, and with cheshek and desire, will lead us to the same conclusion, that this is so special. People who don't put too much effort, don't apply a lot of effort to anything, they run the risk of not really being interested in the long run. The more you put into it, the more you invest your time into something, the more you will become attached to it. And that is why he says, Kol hayom hisichati. Throughout the day, that is my discussion, that is what I converse about. Pasuk Tzadik Chet, Mi'oivai tehakemeni mitzvotecha, ki leolam hi li. Your commandments make me wiser. In other words, it's not just about knowledge. As he studies about them, as he delves into it, he became wiser. Make me wiser than my enemies. Well, obviously I have an advantage. The Torah will teach me how to react to all kinds of situations, how to deal with enemies. The Torah contains all of this. So it makes me wiser than them. They don't have this. It's to my advantage, therefore, that I learn Torah. Ki leolam hi li. For they are ever with me. The mitzvot. He feels connected to it. He feels the importance of it. He realizes that our life depends on it. And therefore, does not ever think of letting go of it. Look at the next pasuk, however, the next verse. It appears to be similar, but it has a different lesson. Mikol melamedai hiskalti, ki edotecha sichali. He just told us how he became wiser from learning the Torah. The Torah, after all, guides us and imparts on us a tremendous amount of knowledge. It's not just about mitzvot. Tremendous amount of knowledge. He's become wiser, he says. But in verse 99, Tzadik Tet, he says, from all my teachers, I have gained wisdom. So it's not just from learning Torah, from all his teachers. For your testimonies are my discussion. So what did he gain from teachers that he did not gain from Torah? Well, obviously we don't know everything on our own. Sometimes things are not so clear. So the simple understanding is that he gained a lot from the various teachers, not one that he had. And that is very important in a Jew's life as well. Aselech harav. The rabbis tell us, make sure that you have a teacher, that you have someone that you can consult with, that can guide you. You have doubts, you have questions. Someone that you can trust, of course. Someone that's knowledgeable about what you're going to ask him. There's a lot to gain. Very, very important point. But it's not so much the teacher here that he's pointing out. It's the fact that he was so interested in learning that he was prepared to learn from everyone, young and old. Even those who are younger than him. Not as knowledgeable as him. So what? If he has something to teach me that I don't know, I love learning so much, I love the Torah so much, I'm prepared to learn it from anyone. And that is what the rabbis tell us. Eizu chachama lomed mikol adam. Who's a true wise person? Not just one who has gained a lot of knowledge, but one who's prepared to learn from anyone. Because that is indicative. That shows that he cares about it. He's not embarrassed to ask, even from those who are younger than him. Children, if those children know something that he does not know, he's prepared to learn from them. And that is what he says, and I did. Mikol melamedai hiskalti. I actually did so. I actually gained from all these teachers. Ki edvotecha sichali. For your testimonies are my discussion. This is what I've always been interested in. And since I was interested in it, seriously interested, I was prepared to learn from anyone. Now look at the next verse. It appears to be similar as well, but it's different. Pasuk Kuf 100. Mizekenim et bonan kifikodecha natzarti. I will be more perceptive than the elders. There's two ways of interpreting this verse. Either, as a result of his learning, he will be more perceptive even than the elders, because of the amount of time he spent learning. Or, I prefer the second interpretation. Mizekenim et bonan, I will actually have what to gain in perception, in insight, from the elders. Kifikodecha natzarti, because I have guarded your precepts. So what exactly did he do here? He looked up to the elders, according to the second interpretation. He realizes that the elders have experience more than him. They're older. There's definitely something that one can learn from those who have experience. So mizekenim et bonan, I gain perception, greater insight from the elders. Rabbis tell us, look to the previous generation. Always aspire to be like your elders, like the great rabbis of the past. When one has that aspiration, hopefully that will motivate him to be like them. So in order for that to happen, there has to be a certain amount of respect for the past generation. And that's what he says. I have that. I'm prepared to learn from them. I realize they may have something I don't have. Experience. But he says, Kifikudecha natzarti. What is this addition? These additional words, Kifikudecha natzarti, because I have guarded your precepts. What does that have to do with looking at the elders? He saw how careful they were. He saw how dedicated they were. So this helped him, Kifikudecha natzarti. Or you could say it the other way around. As a result of being careful with the precepts, that helped me gain even more respect and admiration for them. Because the more I was careful, the more I realized the importance of it, and that made it easier for me to give respect where it's due, with those who all their life were careful with their precepts. Either way, a lot of people don't have that respect for others. If they were to be more careful with the precepts, if they would learn them, they would perhaps understand the previous generation. There's a big gap between our generation and the past. People sometimes can't communicate with the past generation. So his observance, careful observance of the precepts, helped him better relate to the elders. Kuf Aleph, very important verse, 101. Mikol orach ra kaliti raglai, leman eshmor devarecha. I guess we can translate it here, kaliti, to restrain. I have restrained my feet from every evil path, that I might keep your word. Every evil path. There's all kinds of paths in life. And sometimes we see that the path is a good one. Sometimes we see that the path is not such a good one. Sometimes it's unclear. So you want to be careful. You want to be careful from all those paths in life that are treacherous, that are devious, that can get you into trouble, get you off the right path. He was extra careful with that. And you will see why in the next few verses. The simple idea, however, in this verse is that he didn't take any chances. He was always careful with what he did. He evaluated the situation. So he says, I steered away, or I restrained my feet, in order that I should have no problem to observe your words, your precepts. What does one thing have to do with another? Well, if sometimes people who are good by nature or had a good education associate with the wrong people, you can see how easily that may affect them and may interfere with their observance of mitzvot. So he wanted to stay clear because he understood the danger of this. He understood the danger of bad company, of being around bad people. So therefore he didn't take any chance and stayed away from anything that appeared to him as being evil. Verse Kuf Bet 102. Mimishpatecha lo sarti ki ata oretani. I have not turned away from your judgments, for you have instructed me. Well, there were situations where he was in doubt what to do concerning a halacha, a particular ruling. What is the Torah going to say about this situation, which is a gray area? It's not black and white. The Torah does not say what you should do or not do. So we would consult. We used to have a Sanhedrin. We used to have shoftim, judges. We had prophets. So David HaMelech, of course, realized that he doesn't know everything and he needs to consult, and he didn't shy away from that. But what he says over here, Ki ata horetani, is significant. Pay attention to these words. He says, you know why I did not turn away? For you have instructed me. Imagine somebody asks you, why don't you eat pork? You have to be careful because you may not really know the reason for it. You just know that the Torah prohibits it. It's not kosher. If you begin to give an explanation which is not substantiated, you may get into trouble. If that person somehow is knowledgeable and says, what are you talking about? That's nonsense. There is no real explanation in the Torah itself a real explanation, because it's a chok, it's a decree. The Torah only says this will contaminate your soul. Well, contaminate my soul? We don't see how it does, but the Torah says that this has something to do with the soul. It's nothing to do with the health. Otherwise the Torah would have said, what's your health? No. There's a lot of people who eat all kinds of things that crawl. They're healthy. Nothing to do with health. It has to do with something that contaminates the neshama. And what happens if it contaminates the soul? Then this will obstruct our fulfillment of the mitzvot properly. It will give us a hard time. The Torah says, listen, this is for your own good. You need to be holy. In order for you to be holy, you have to watch out for certain things. What kind of an answer do you give this individual that will hopefully satisfy him? The shortest answer possible. What's the shortest answer possible? What David HaMelech just says. Ki ata horetani. Hashem told me so. That's why it's asur. That's good enough for me. And that should be good enough for you. We don't have to know the reasons. Why is this prohibited? Because Hashem said so. That's it. That's what he's saying over here. That is how he was able to stay on the right track and not be influenced or pressured by all kinds of people who said all kinds of things to him. Ata horetani, you told me. So if I have any doubts about it, I'll just say, I don't understand. Hashem said so. For me, that's good enough. Obviously, for those people who have a hard time with faith in God, who says that God said so? Maybe there was a committee. So we're not talking about that. They still need to first be introduced to the fact that there is a God. But those that do believe that God exists, why did he do this? Why did he write this? Why did he command us? Because he said so. He gave you life. Be thankful. If he said so, it should be good enough. Next verse. Kuf Gimel. Now he compares the Torah to something sweeter than honey. A lot of people may have the attitude, yes, this is tremendous wisdom, very valuable, but maybe it's a little boring, or it's a little difficult, or I can't handle it, all kinds of excuses. The Rebbe says this is sweeter than honey. But why does he compare it to honey? Just because honey is sweet. Just about anything in life, if you have too much of it, after a while you get sick and tired of it, even honey. It's good, it's sweet, but if you have too much of it, you're going to have tuna fish, imagine, every day for the following 3 months. I think after a while you're going to get tired of it. Anything is like that. Food. The Torah is sweeter than honey. Because it's sweet even after you've swallowed it. Honey is sweet in the mouth. After you've swallowed it, you forgot about it. Honey, you can't have as much as you want. The Torah, the more you have it, the better. So that's why he uses this comparison. So, how sweet are your words to my palate. Chiki is my palate. Sweeter than honey to my mouth. Yes, but if you don't try it, if you don't learn it, you won't realize how beautiful, how sweet, and how beneficial it is to learn Torah. Besides a mitzvah, besides our obligation, it really does something for the neshama. Okay, let's go on to the next verse. This is the last verse of the letter Mem. Verse Kuf Dalet, 104. From your precepts I gain understanding, which is similar to what he said before. Therefore I hate every path of falsehood. What is he adding over here? There's a lot of philosophies out there, all kinds of wisdom, in all kinds of cultures that say all kinds of things. Some of it may be true, some of it not true. Because I ignore all of that is out there. All those philosophies are not necessarily correct in what they present, in what they say, even though there can be some points that are valid. So if we compare the Torah to other philosophies, as an example, it says you won't gain too much from it, you won't see too much. Therefore, I completely ignore it. So he says, for me, it's enough to look at the mitzvot, to look at the precepts. This is how I gain understanding. This really helps. But what about everything else? No. Al ken saneti kol orach shaker. I therefore hate every path of falsehood, because a lot of what is being taught is false. And anything that's false is misleading. I hate it, therefore. But why do you hate it? Why not just say, I stay away from it. I don't care about it. It doesn't do anything for me. We're going to see that soon. Why something which is no good, something which is perhaps false, needs to be hated? It's important that we have the right attitude of no tolerance whatsoever for something which is wrong. Because otherwise, if people are flexible, comfortable with it, I just want to hear another opinion. I just want to hear another explanation. And it's false, it could be dangerous. What did the verse say about beauty and grace? Sheker achen vehevel hayofi, right? You see a beautiful woman, or you see a woman that has grace, chen. So the pasuk says, Shlomo Melech, the wisest man that ever lived, right? It says, be careful. Sheker achen, when it comes to grace, the smile, that could be so fake, you have no idea. Inside, it's completely rotten. You don't see it. It's hen, it's attractive. And hevel hayofi, when it comes to beauty, it's vain, it's worthless. Now, obviously, if the woman is God-fearing and intelligent and so kind and nice, and she's beautiful, wow, then you're lucky. Beauty by itself, however, is completely vain, it's empty. So the chen is sheker, it's misleading. People have fallen for it. They didn't realize what they were getting into, because there was chen. And yofi, what good is the yofi if initially it's there, but eventually it's full of wrinkles? It goes away. It doesn't stay forever. Or even if it's there forever, but everything else is no good. Everything else is no good about this woman. Or about the man. He's handsome, good looking, but he's abusive. What good is the beauty? The bottom line is a woman who's God-fearing. That matters more than anything else. She will be the one that will raise your children. Same thing with the husband, who appreciates the good character, the finesse, Yirat Shamayim. He's God-fearing, observant. This really matters more than anything else. So when it comes to philosophies, there are all kinds of things that are out there that can be very interesting. Be careful not to show too much admiration for these things if they're based on lies. We're not talking about science right now per se, because science, the raw science, not necessarily scientific conclusion about creation and the like. I'm talking about the raw science, scientific facts, is very interesting. Definitely very interesting. It's part of the creation of Hashem, the laws of physics. Beautiful. I'm talking about philosophies especially. Those things that can be dangerous, their conclusions, their ideas. Therefore he says, be careful with it. I hate those things because they're not based on the truth. What do I do instead? From your precepts I will gain understanding, because that has helped him. That he has seen. That is true. And therefore, he spent more time learning those things than anything else. All right, the letter Nun, Pasuk Kuf Hey, 105. Ner leragli devarecha ve'or lenetivati. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. That's interesting. A lamp to my feet? What about to my eyes? Right? Why is it saying a lamp to my feet? So that the fact that the Torah is a light. We know that. It illuminates the path, it illuminates our life. And you can say illuminate our life to mean various things. Either it shows us direction or it actually brightens our life. Either one is correct. But why his feet? Because there's another verse elsewhere that says that the wicked will always stumble because they walk in darkness. They have no light. So they stumble. They don't realize that there's a pit, an open pit, or there's some other stumbling block. They don't realize it because they're in darkness. They don't see that they may fall and they may get hurt. And that is why he points out over here that the Torah is a light, a lamp to his feet, so that he should not stumble, he should not fall. And a light to my path, of course, because it shows us where we need to go. A lot of people don't know where they're headed. Ask somebody, what's your path in life? Where are you headed? They may think about their career perhaps, but that's just a means to make, a living. What's your path? Where are you headed? What you want to accomplish in life? The Torah tells us what is worthwhile, what should be a priority, what is really meaningful. Next verse, Kuf Vav, 106. Nishbati v'kayema lishmor mishpatei tzidkecha. 106. I have sworn, and I will fulfill it to keep your righteous judgments. I have sworn. The rabbis discourage us from vows, from swearing. You don't want to take a chance to make a vow. You may forget it, and then it's serious business. Nedarim, Shavuot. But there are times that it is a good idea. I've explained in the past, if you're besakana, if you're in a dangerous situation, make a neder. God, if I come out of it, I promise I will do this and this for you. And as long as it's something substantial, the merit of that neder, that vow, you may be saved. Somebody who's very, very ill, the doctors have given up hope on him. That is a danger. Go ahead and propose that to this individual. If you come out of it, you commit to do this and this and that you have not been doing till now. Something special, this may save his life. So there are times when a neder may really make a difference. Rabbis have a neder that they describe as nidrei ziruzin, to motivate one, to get him to do something that without the neder he may not do. Perhaps he's not keeping to the schedule of his Torah learning or his prayers. So the neder might get him to move, because hopefully he takes the neder seriously. So that's what David HaMelech says here. I had times that I was concerned that I may fail. I may not make it. Tremendous pressures that will interfere with his Torah learning, with his observance of the mitzvot. I didn't let the Yetzer Hara win. How did I do it? I swore. I made a neder. At times I had to do this. That's okay. That helped me. That's what he says. Nishbati v'kayema, and I will fulfill it. No, it wasn't I will fulfill the Shavua, whatever it was. But for what purpose? To keep your righteous judgments. Lishmor mishpatei tzidkecha. That was the whole reason why I made this vow. So at certain times when we are pressured, there may be a need for that. Usually it's discouraged. It's not a good idea. You may forget about it. But if there's a need, this can be powerful to get the person to observe the mitzvot. All right, next one. Pasuk Kuf Zayin 107. Na'aneti ad me'od Adonai chayini kidvarecha. I am afflicted to the extreme. Grant me life, Hashem, according to your promise. So here David HaMelech is pretty much describing that he went through a lot in life. Now, when we say he went through a lot, what do we really mean? Not just pain and suffering, but also tests, challenges. He was tested. Not that Hashem was testing him, but the situation, the circumstances tested his faith, tested his trust, his emunah in Hashem. It tested him, it challenged him. All of that is under the word na'aneti. And the reason why he uses here the word na'aneti is, even though it's somewhat refers to affliction, it can also mean humbling experience. From anava, from the word anava, humbleness. He was very, very humbled. And therefore he asks for Hashem's assistance here, for Hashem to help him. Chayeni, keep me alive. Why ask for life over here at this point? What does life have to do with it? David HaMelech is reminding us that he did his share. He observed the Torah, he kept the mitzvot. Pain and suffering is not under his control. What other people do to you, you cannot always control. So David HaMelech is saying, Hashem, I did my part, you do your part. Chayeni, keep me alive. Keep me alive, don't let me, because of all these experiences, leave this world before my time. People have had heart attacks, strokes, and all kinds of illnesses as a result of the pressures they went through. Really. This is not just a matter of eating the wrong food or having something in your genes. This is the trauma that people experience either through war, as soldiers, or through some terrible experience with a neighbor, lawsuits, persecution, constant persecution. It really has affected a lot of people's health. Do you know what the Holocaust did to many, many people? Those who survived. You may not know it, you may not even see it. Sometimes you could. But it caused tremendous, tremendous effects to their health. It really affected their health in a very bad way. So some people, of course, were stronger, but even some of the strong ones, it caught up to them in their later stage of life. Even though earlier on it wasn't noticeable, you can see the effects of going through 5 or 6 years of hell, what it did to them. So that's what David HaMelech here is emphasizing, the word chayeni. You know, grant me life. Okay, next pasuk. Kuf chet. Nidvot pi retzena Adonai mishpatecha lamedeni. 108. Accept with favor, Hashem, the offerings of my lips. What are the offerings of the lips? Prayers, words of thanks and praise. And teach me your laws. What are the words of praise and thanks that he has in mind over here? The Tehilim. This big composition of his, and of course others as well, that he prayed to Hashem, he praised Hashem, he thanked Hashem, accepted with favor. The rabbis tell us that David HaMelech asked that Tehilim should be considered as precious as learning Torah, having a similar weight and merit. Even though all it is reading and saying words, it doesn't contain the laws of the Torah per se, but people who may not have the time or the skill, the knowledge to learn a lot of Torah, let them say the Tehilim. So part of what he's saying over here is not just his own personal prayers, but he's also perhaps referring to the entire composition of Tehilim. Let it be accepted. Accepted with favor all the offerings of the lips. Well, apparently, when one does offer something with his lips to Hashem, it's definitely significant. Otherwise, why would he even think of saying that? Yes, Hashem appreciates, Hashem does like the fact that a Jew communicates with him, or a non-Jew says words of thanks to him, recognizes, acknowledges all the favors that, and all the kindness that Hashem has done for us. So here he's saying, accept it and teach me your laws. What does teach me have to do with accepting the prayers? If you recall, in our prayers that we pray to Hashem, we make all kinds of requests, right? Whether it's about our health, our livelihood. There's one blessing, however, that a lot of people overlook, which is what he's talking about over here. You're the one that grants man knowledge, wisdom. Please give us, grant it to us. The Rebbe says, of everything that I've requested in my prayer to you, mishpatecha lamedeni, to me that's the most important one, that I should be able to understand the precepts, so teach it to me. grant me that wisdom that I need to understand your mishpatim. So even though I've said all these prayers and I've made all these requests to you, he emphasizes again, don't think that I just want money and I want power. He's a king. No. This is what I'm emphasizing. This is the more important request of all. Mishpatecha lamedeni. Teach me your precepts. Teach me your laws. All right, Pasuk Kuftet. This is also a very significant verse. Nafshi bechapi tamid v'toratecha lo shachachti. My soul, nafshi is usually the soul, is in danger. Now, look at the word kapi. What does kapi mean to you? It means really in the hand. Why am I saying danger? Because that's what he's really saying here. The reason he uses the word in the hand, because the hands are close to us. When you hold something in your hand that you don't want it to fall, you hold it securely, right? So that's why it's an expression that is used. Nafshi bekapi, my soul, my spirit, is in danger continuously. It was. V'toratecha lo shachachti. Still, I have not forgotten your Torah. What is he saying? No one should ever come up with an excuse that because of persecution, because of all kinds of troubles and dangers, he wasn't able to learn Torah. The rabbis tell us in the Gemara that when the wealthy will head upstairs and they will be asked, why didn't you learn Torah? And they will complain, well, it was impossible, they were very wealthy, they had a lot of property, didn't have the time. They'll point to other very wealthy people who did make time to learn Torah, so it's not an excuse. There'll be somebody who will say, I was too poor and struggled. They will point to people who are very poor, more poor than you. They still learn Torah. All kinds of excuses that people will try to use. In heaven, they will point to someone who had the same kind of a situation as you did. Nevertheless, he devoted time to Torah. So David HaMelech is saying over here, yes, I was in danger, constantly in danger, but Toratecha lo shachachti, I didn't forget the Torah. That could mean two things. I didn't forget to learn Torah, or I didn't forget to abide by the law of Torah, even though I had all kinds of pressures. David had many pressures. He could have easily said, well, I can't do this right now. There are stories of people during the Holocaust when they were in the ghetto and bombs were flying everywhere. They were sitting and learning Torah. There was one individual that got killed because of a bomb that landed in his room, and they saw him with his head over a Gemara. That's how they found him, unfortunately. Yeah, people did not let go of Torah. If they knew how to learn, especially, just because of the dangers, they realized this is hopefully something that will protect them. Even though during the Holocaust, not everyone was saved. But it was still the right thing to do if they could, to sit and learn Torah. At least whatever learning they did was a tremendous merit for their soul in the afterlife. Pasuk Kuf Yud 110. Natnu reshaim pachlim v'pikodecha lo ta'iti. The wicked, the reshaim, they laid all kinds of traps and snares. For me, I have not strayed from your precepts. Look how he's using various verses here to say, regardless of the challenge and the situation, I did not veer. I did not stop what I was supposed to be doing. But here he's talking about the traps and the snares. Yes, we know that. If we read the story of David HaMelech, they really tried to block him, stop him, interfere with him. Even that did not stop me. So he's describing all kinds of situations, remember, throughout Tehilim, that not only affected him, but will possibly affect many people. Don't be discouraged. Don't just come up with some excuse why you can't do it. Look what I went through, and look how I survived. Pasuk Kuf Yud Aleph, very, very important pasuk. And all of it is important, but when I say very important, it's because there's some very valuable and relevant lessons to be learned from it. Nahalti edvotecha leolam kiseson libi hema. I have taken your testimonies as an eternal heritage. It's a nachala. For they are the joy of my heart. Well, we're somewhat familiar with that. The Torah for us is a nachala, it's an inheritance, it's part of our heritage. We don't just hold on to it ourselves, we continuously give it over to the next generation, we transmit it to others. And therefore David HaMelech says, this is what I did as well. New Testament is an eternal heritage. I make sure to remind others about it. But he says, for they are the joy of my heart. What's the connection of the joy to the inheritance? Not everyone is going to watch over the inheritance. A lot of brothers fight over it. And guess what happens? The lawyers get it. They don't remain with a penny, if we're talking about money here. In order for one to preserve the inheritance, one of the best ways to preserve an inheritance is to be happy about it. Not to fight, not to argue about it, to be happy and to share it. So he adds here the words of joy in reminding us that is the best way for the inheritance to continue to be a part of your heritage. Be happy with it. Be proud of it. If you're not going to be proud, if you're going to look at it as a burden, then you're going to drop it and your children are going to completely forget about it. And I'm going to tell you an incredible story that I heard from Rabbi Kin of blessed memory. As you know, Rabbi Kin was involved in bringing Jews back to their source, and he helped a lot of people during his short life. He once met up with a father in New York, a religious man, observant, orthodox, and this man asked the rabbi, "Rabbi, I have a question to ask you. Something bothers me very much." "Yes, what's the question?" "You see, that gentleman over there, we're both Orthodox, we both pray here in the same synagogue, we live in the same neighborhood, and we both have children. Why is it that when his son finished high school, he decided to go to a yeshiva in Israel to continue his Torah learning, whereas my son, after the yeshiva, decided to become a priest and dropped observance of Torah? How do you explain something like this?" So the rabbi turns to him and says, "I don't know if I can really explain what happened over here, but I think I have an idea. When you went to pray every day and your son would ask you, 'Daddy, where are you going?' you said, 'I have to go to pray.' When your son saw you making a sukkah for the holiday and he asked you, 'Dad, what are you doing?' and you told him, 'I have to make the sukkah.' When your son saw you doing something else that is part of our Torah and asked you, 'What exactly is this?' you said, 'I have to do this.' Well, your son decided when he grew up that he doesn't have to do it. That was your attitude, that you have to do this. Then he decided, 'I don't have to.' Your friend, however, when his son asked him, 'Daddy, where are you going?' 'I'm going to pray to Hashem. I'm going to the synagogue. You want to come?' 'What are you building?' 'I'm building a sukkah. Beautiful sukkahs. The holiday Sukkot is approaching. Come and help me out in this beautiful, important mitzvah.' Or he's doing something else, giving charity. 'Come and see what I'm doing.' Look at the difference in the attitude. One did it with joy and was happy to perform the mitzvah. It therefore stuck to the children. They continued with no problem. They were just as excited as their dad. You had to it. You had to do this. You felt compelled to do it. It was a burden for you. He decided, 'I don't need these burdens.' Be very, very careful with the impression you give to your children, to your friends. If you want to be an example, you want to inspire them, then you have to be motivated and you have to be happy. It is the joy and the happiness that makes it easier to transmit this heritage from one generation to the next. Pasuk Kuf Yud Bet 112. Natiti libi la'asot chukecha le'olam ekev. I have inclined my heart to perform your statutes forever, to the last. Ekev, even though it means they heal, here it just means to the very end, to the last. It's interesting that he uses here the words natiti libi. I have inclined my heart. What does that mean? I haven't seen too many commentaries about this choice of words, but in my humble opinion, I think what he's trying to tell us is as follows. To incline one's heart means that the heart on its own will want to do the mitzvot. You don't have to force it. As children, sometimes parents and teachers force it. Even though it's not exactly forced, but they basically try to push it. Because a child on his own does not want to do it on his own. He's not interested. He doesn't know the importance of it. The trick is that hopefully, at some point in the Jew's life, he will want to do it gladly on his own. That the heart should be inclined. That you don't have to tell him. You know how many people, even adults today, you have to tell them, give charity, it's important. Go to pray, go to learn, go to a class, listen to a lecture. You have to remind people they don't know on their own. They're not inclined. Their heart is not interested. Says, I got so used to it. What I did, what I accomplished was natiti libi. I inclined my heart, la'asot chukecha, to perform your statutes forever to the last. Baruch Hashem, this is an achievement. This is something special. You don't have to force it. You don't have to remind people. They should want to do it on their own. Okay, we're now down to the letter Samach. Kuf Yud Gimel, verse 113. Before we go to 113, just another word about 112. It is actually a good sign when people do something on their own, when their heart desires it, when they don't feel that this is a burden. It's a very, very good sign.
So it's segula for this?
What? A segula, you get used to it. And of course, the more you learn about it and you realize how special it is, how it's something that we should definitely implement in our life, then hopefully it will be done. When people don't understand the value of something, then they think, oh, this is a burden. Or they want to just get it over with. So that attitude, a positive attitude, does develop over time. It's not that you can do one thing and it will happen automatically. For example, the rabbis tell us mitzvah goreret mitzvah. One mitzvah leads to another mitzvah because there's something called momentum. You've been doing something positive that has built up momentum that you can now do some more. If people have this resistance, then they're never going to have the momentum. So it's a combination of continuous learning and realizing the importance of it. And hopefully with time, with Hashem's help, one will be inclined to do it on his own without any problems whatsoever. Even if it's cold outside. Even if he's tired. This is a good sign. Same thing with sins. Automatically stay away. No, I'm not interested. Some people are continuously challenged. The Kabbalah says that if you're continuously being challenged by a certain sin, you hold back. That's a sign that you may have done it in the past and you never atoned for it completely. So it's continuously going to bother you. Once that atonement is complete, 100%, you're not even going to think about it. You'll have no interest in it. If it's continuously invading your mind, these bad ideas, that means it's not erased completely. Same thing with the good deeds. Once you really are into it, you'll have no problem with it. It will be almost automatic. All right, so the next verse, Se'afim saneti v'toratecha ahavti. I despise, remember I said before the importance of despising, of hating. This is where he's talking about that. I despise vain thoughts, but I love your Torah. So what's Se'afim exactly? It's a very interesting word. Vain thoughts. What's a vain thought? Thoughts that don't lead to anywhere. It's twisted. People look for any kind of an excuse to say, this is not for me, this class is not for me, this Torah, this is not real, this is just made up. What's the real reason why they don't want to learn Torah? Shlomo HaMelech says, Leta'ava yivakesh nifrad. People who want to be nifrad, who want to stay away from Torah, from spirituality. You really want to know what the reason is? Not the excuse that they will tell you, but it's leta'ava. They have desires. They want to just do what they enjoy and what brings them pleasure, and they come up with an excuse why they don't want spirituality, why they don't want Torah. It bothers their conscience. So they stay away from them because they want to fulfill their desires. A lot of people don't embrace religion for this reason in the non-Jewish world. They want to have a hedonistic lifestyle where they can do anything they wish without being told this is wrong, morally unacceptable, this is decadence. Oh no. Whoever said that? Enjoy. Right? So people who are so into doing all these terrible things that are decadent in nature, they will not be attracted to anything that is close to Torah. So Se'afim Saneti, I hate all these excuses. People coming up with all kinds of explanations. You know why I don't agree with this? Because this doesn't make sense to me. You know, the truth, why he doesn't agree with it? Because he doesn't like it. He's not interested. So when he says that he doesn't make sense to him, it's just an excuse. These are all Se'afim. So I hate these kinds of excuses. Se'afim Saneti, Toratecha ahavti. I love your Torah. I love the truth. So David HaMelech is reminding all those who may have had any second thoughts, listen, take it from me. I loved it. I was a king. I was so busy. And I didn't take no for an answer. I love the Torah. Kuf Yudalet 114, Sitri umagini ata lidvaracha yechalti. You are my refuge and my shield. I place hope in your promise. So this sounds a little bit familiar to us. We know that the Torah acts as a shield and as a refuge. But for those of you who know a little bit of Hebrew, look at the word sitri. Sitri means to conceal or to hide. We're translating as a refuge because that's what happens when you're in the refuge. You're hiding from the enemy. So there's two levels over here of protection in a sense, because you're using two different words. That sometimes Hashem could make it that the enemy won't even see you and find you. And that's happened in the Holocaust. They searched everywhere, and some people were lucky. It was like they were blind, they couldn't see them. That is one form of salvation, of protection. And the other one is magini, a shield, that even though they may see you, there are many miracles of people who've been caught, sent to prison, sent to the gallows, and still survived. So he says, this is what I experienced, all the levels of protection from Hashem. I place hope in your promise, because you promised me that you will protect me. And obviously Hashem delivered. Suru mimeni, verse 115, Suru mimeni mera'im ve'etzera mitzvot Elohai. This is also part of what I was saying before, that I will explain more now, of why he says that I hate the evildoers. So in 115, turn away from me, you evildoers, and I will keep the commandments of my God. It's like he's yelling at them. Turn away from me. In other words, I hate you. I don't want to be around you. The importance of this is when you see something wrong, you have to protest. If you don't protest and you don't hate it, you don't voice your opposition to it, eventually you may be comfortable with it and tolerate it and say it's okay. And that's no good. In order for you not to tolerate evil and that which is wrong, you need to protest as much as you can. Even though you may not win, you need to protest. If you notice in the Amidah, there's a special blessing that was added. It used to be 18, now we have 19 blessings. What's the 19th? Laminim v'lamalshinim. A blessing that was composed, a prayer by Rabbi Gamliel, in order to protect us from all the snitches, all the informers, Jews who would tell the Romans, hey, the Jews are doing this and doing that. We suffered a lot in their hands. Imagine that they composed this prayer, that God should eliminate them, that they shouldn't hurt us, that they should not survive. Very powerful words in that little prayer. But people misunderstand it. It wasn't so much a prayer only to ask for their demise, for them to be eliminated. No, chas v'shalom. Hopefully they should do teshuvah. The purpose of that prayer was more to protect us. Rabbi Gamliel basically was saying, say this so that you should realize how dangerous they are and you will not come to associate with them. Don't befriend them. That was where the danger was. Where people would learn from their ways. So say those words. Say that you disagree. Say that you're very upset at them, that you hate them, in order that you should not come to associate with them. So that's what he's saying over here. Get away from me. I don't want to be around you. Say those words because this is what will protect you from them. Why? Ve'etzera mitzvot Elokai. Get away from me so I will be able to keep the commandments of Hashem. Kuf Tet Zayin and Kuf Yud Zayin are similar. Look at 116 and 117, but they use slightly different words. Somcheni kimratecha v'echyeh v'al tevisheni misivri. That's 116. Support me according to your promise, and I will live. Let me not be ashamed because of my hope in you. So look at this word. Somcheni means support. What kind of support are we talking about here? Support here in this first verse is health. Let me be able to handle all the pain and suffering and all the challenges. Hopefully I should be able to have the strength to deal with all that and preserve my health. So Somcheni, support me health-wise. That's why he says Ve'echyeh, so I should live. Otherwise, what does live have to do with support? It must be talking health, that kind of a support. And don't, of course, let me be shamed because of my hope. I always did hope in you and always did trust in you. So Hashem did support him in health as well as in the next form of help. What was the Kuf Yud Zayin 117? Se'adeni. Here he uses the word Se'adeni. Sustain me. Similar to support, but this is not health anymore. Sustain me and I will be saved. Se'adeni v'vashea ve'esh'a b'chukecha tamid. Sustain me and I will be saved and I will be engrossed in your statute always. So this is a different form of support, because he's not talking about staying alive. So what exactly does he have in mind over here? He says the words vivashea. Vivashea means that I should be saved or helped. So what exactly is he describing over here? So the Midrash says that the kavanah here, the intent here is that he should learn Torah and not forget. One example. That the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, should not disturb him. That he should not make any mistakes in his learning or in the judgments or in the halakha or whatever. This is the kind of help that we all need as well. So that is where he says the word se'adeni, sustain me, that I should not, falter in any way. This is something that we need to say all the time because it could happen, especially with the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination. Kuf Yud Chet 118, Salita kol shogim mechukecha kisheket tarmitam. You trample all who stray from your statutes, for their ploy is a lie. Very interesting word we use, salita, to trample. All those who claimed, all those who lied, that the laws are man-made, made up, you trample them, you disprove them. There have been many, many miracles, many prophecies that have come true, and they're coming true today as we speak. And what is this doing? Salita, those who pay attention, it is trampling kol shogim, all those who stray from your statutes. We're talking about especially Jews, who come up with all kinds of excuses, or that this is something primitive from the past. This is not primitive. You know how many non-Jews are interested in this? How many want to convert? They want to convert because of this. It's important to them, then why isn't it important to you? What do they see that you don't see? But it's obviously shogim. These are people who are straying. Why are they straying? So he says, for their ploy is a lie. They don't really have a real reason. It's all a bunch of lies and excuses. Unfortunately, people are weak. And they come up with all kinds of reasons, explanations of why they don't want to learn. Kuf Yud Tet, Sigim Mishbata Chol Yishei Aretz Lachen Ahavti Edotecha. You have purged all the wicked of the earth like dross, the impurities of silver and gold. That's the Sigim. Therefore I love your testimonies. Basically, David HaMelech says, I've seen that Sheker en lo raglaim, falsehood has no feet to stand on. It eventually falls. It eventually collapses. This is all Sigim, the dross. Hishbata kol rishei aretz. You've therefore, like Sigim, like the dross, you've purged them from the earth. Because it's all Sheker. Sheker will not last. Sheker does not last a long time. It puts up a face, and it looks interesting and attractive, but it's sheker. You purge it all, you get rid of it. Eventually, the lies, anything that is connected to falsehood, will fall. Therefore, I love your testimonies, because your testimonies are permanent. They're forever. Every generation, it's not like the US Constitution. It was good then, and now it's being amended and changed, and people don't like what it says. No, I love your testimonies. The Torah is forever. The Torah is the emet. Therefore, it will be everlasting. The last verse, Samar mipachtecha besarim mishpatecha yareti. My flesh bristles from fear of you, and I'm in awe of your judgments. Here he's talking about the fact that many, many wicked people just deny that God exists, that God oversees what's going on in the world. They don't have the bare minimum of Yirat Shamayim, the fear of heaven. He says, my flesh bristles from fear. And this is how I'm able to retain my purity, the observance of the Torah mitzvot. What really gets me going is Yirat Shamayim. The fear of heaven is the source of strength for the Jew.